Welcome to Chronic Conversation, live with our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your host, TB Scouting MMA, and no guru. But lucky enough, we have the awesome Fenyo from the fight site itself at Fenyo X Sky on Twitter, Instagram, or maybe it's X, whatever you want to call it these days. But we just had to do it. It's the rematch of a lifetime. We've got Tybura versus Spivac 2, the one that everyone's been asking for. Fenyo, man, thank you so much for coming on, filling the big shoes of the guru. I know you're more than built for it. So how are you, my friend? Welcome.
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me. So let's hope this is a fun show. I know the expectations for these fights this Saturday are very high, right? A rematch
yes.
that everyone has been waiting for, and a stacked card that could have been a pay-per-view if we're honest. So
yes. I'm surprised they're not charging $80 a pop for this one. We've got listen, the haircuts have changed a little bit since the first time, but make sure you guys, if you haven't already, please throw a like on this video. It helps out so much. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for getting us to 700 subscribers. Absolutely amazing. We're keeping on rolling every week. We'll find out what the guru is up to, but this guy leaving us to do the hard work out here for the card of a lifetime. So shout out to you guys in the chat. Lou, the guru must have paid you for a reason. He must have known something that he wasn't going to be here. So he had to make sure the guru was in the chat. Exactly. We should have already broken down the main event by now. Glynn, what's going on? Hell yeah, let's get after it. And John, thanks for being one of the 2 paying members of Chronic Combat Conversations on YouTube. And yeah, shout out to everyone. Please retweet the link. So without further ado, it's what we've all been waiting for. I mean, look at these 2 guys. I mean, isn't this what like the peak male form here? Like you got Marcin.
Peak male performance, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? Like you can tell USADA's not here anymore based on these guys' physiques. Marcin Tybura versus Sergey the Polar Bear Spivac. And I mean, the narrative on this fight, and probably why the line has been sliding from an opener of about even money at -110 to currently -170 Spivac. I mean, in the rematch here, Spivac's put on about 20 pounds since their first matchup. He used to come in at a svelty 234, now nearly tipping the heavyweight limit, whereas Tybura, someone that's been fairly consistent, but he generally comes out here looking like the bigger guy in my mind. Even with Spivac putting on weight, I kind of see the pictures from like the media day and all that, and Tybura still looks like the way thicker guy, and he probably cut some serious stuff to get down to this weight limit, whereas Spivac, I mean, he seems to have filled out in his body, but the real question here is like, how much has his wrestling and overall boxing game improved to be able to win a striking match from distance and not put himself in clinch situations? And if he does end up in those clinch situations, does it look like last time where Tybura is kind of bullying him to his own effect? Spivac kind of goes for some lazy judo throws, some body lock attempts, but Tybura is just a way stronger guy and is able to parlay it into his own top position. And ultimately, that's kind of where I was leaning on this fight. It's just the line movement has me a bit spooked. Seems like majority of the people are still on. I feel like I'm seeing people picking Tybura, but the money line's going the other way. So really having a tough time here discerning who I want to put my money on, because I lean towards the Tybura side, but I feel like the over here is just a beautiful thing. I mean, the people that have finished either of these 2 guys have like gigantic punching power and are way better athletes. Looking at them, I mean, yeah, sure, Tybura has a nice head kick knockout here or there. He swings with some power, and that's what keeps Spivac kind of off of him in the first fight. So ultimately, I feel like we get a fight that goes a little bit too close to comfort, heading towards the distance. And yeah, I mean, this totally could have sold out Madagascar. And Fenyo, as we pass this off to you, as my lean here is Tybura. I don't have any money on the fight. I really like the over. Do you have an OF account? Apparently, the wife, Steve Gregory, trying to find out if they can follow you out there.
I've been retired from those kind of business. So, but if I work on something new, I'll let you guys know. So,
so what do you got here in this one? What are your leanings on this fight?
Yeah, I mean as you mentioned, the big difference between this one and the first fight that they had is, I mean, the most striking change here is that Spivac put on quite a few pounds, right? And actually a right move. It complements his style pretty well. He has looked stronger during tie-ups, um, especially in that like Hardy fight where he was like the first time that he showed up like heavier, and he looked pretty strong. His wrestling has looked improved. His striking also has been improved. Spivak, the owner of a pretty decent jab,
Mhm.
and that could make this fight closer than the last one where Tybura was like dominating the open space striking, right? Um, that being said, I feel like Tybura is one of the few guys in the division where ending on the bottom against Spivak is not like game over. Most guys in the heavyweight division cannot grapple at all. Tybura is actually pretty decent. He survived 5 rounds against Verdum. Verdum, who was like playing a wrestling heavy game plan for that fight. You could argue that Verdum is obviously way better grappler than Spivak, but Spivak is the better wrestler of the two. So, but yeah, I feel like I'm still like leaning Tybura, especially because he will be able to survive those early scares if they happen. And and really, if you're putting money on this, I feel like the over is actually the best bet because both guys actually pretty decent cardio for heavyweight, and uh, they won't they won't get to impose the grappling that is the way they usually get their finishes nowadays. So I'm my pick is Tybura, but if you want to put money on this one, I would go with the over. Actually, yeah.
I love that. We are aligned here. I mean, the fight goes the distance at solid plus money for the greasiest heavyweight matchup you can ask for. And they went the distance in their first 3 round fight. I don't see what has changed from like their fight finishing potential. And you made a lot of great points, Fanyo. Really appreciate how you break it down the chat. Uh, yeah, I mean, like realistically, if Spivak's going to cover a heavy favorite line, it's going to be because Tybura always gets knocked out, and maybe the jab hurts him. Maybe he gets on top and starts landing ground and pound. But yeah, I really just feel like it's the over. Fight goes the distance. Maybe a little stackage is in my future. Mr. Mendoza, what's going on? The Chronic Hedgehog. So here we go. We're getting to our next fight. UFC, I don't know what you're doing, but this is the picture you gave us for Damon Jackson. So this is what we're using. Damon the Leech Jackson versus Chepe Machine Gun Mariscal, also known as Jose in another lifetime. But I feel like he did a really good job changing his name and having a cool nickname to go along with it. So, Mr. Chepe here, Senor, I really appreciate it. But ultimately, I find myself kind of interested at plus 180 on Damon Jackson. If you guys got Bet 365, I just caught plus 200 not too long ago. And I feel like I just can't get out of my mind watching on CFFC and seeing Chepe Mariscal getting wrestled for 3 consecutive rounds by one Sean Soriano. And I mean, he was only 2 inches taller than Chepe Mariscal and not a noted, decorated top control guy. I mean, Damon Jackson, not only is he going to go for top control, singles, doubles, but he's going to turn it into back takes and grapevining, even if you are stuffing initial takedowns. And he's like a leech, man. I mean, the nickname is perfect. He really is just a bloodsucker out there. He gets on you, he doesn't let go, and he just starts draining you. And I think one of the things we saw is he was very finish reliant early in his career. So I don't know what's been going on. Maybe it's the beautiful new hair implants. Maybe it's the post USADA landscape. But the cardio actually kind of checks out there against Alexander Hernandez. And I think the knockdown is more of a result of him only being on one leg, but kind of with like that knee in the air, thinking about a front kick, thinking about coming down and throwing like a straight punch. But ultimately, it is a knockdown. He is scrambling. But next thing you know, he's working back to control position in round 3. And there's a reason he sneaks out a really greasy decision. I think Chepe is a step down athletically and from a size perspective compared to a guy like Alexander Hernandez. And Hernandez has a whole lot more round 1, round 2 finishing potential. I mean, Chepe is more of an attritional based finisher. He actually is a guy that likes going for his own offensive wrestling. Like you look back at even like the Steve Garcia fight. I feel like Chepe is a guy that's resorting to wrestling there because that's what he needs to do to try to beat a guy like Garcia that has him on death's doorstep. And he does finally finish the job. And Chepe, he's using his wrestling all of round one against Morgan Charrier, draining the gas tank. And it's just, well, that's not an option for you here, man. And it's the same thing in the Jack Jenkins fight. Like all three of his UFC fights so far, Chepe has come in as the underdog. Now the line is flipped to a minus 218, fighting a guy that's 4 inches taller, has a 2-inch reach advantage, and a big time grappling edge. So plus 200 on Damon, the plus 180s on DraftKings. Bet365 still has a little bit going on. And any weakness in Jackson's last fight, I mean, sure, he's not the best athlete. And if this fight's playing out from distance, then no, I don't love what's going on. But you know what, man? Maybe it gives him the confidence to fight for 3 rounds. So shout out to Pepe, Mr. Dixon Sider. He is the parlay police, making sure we know that Glimbot is sharing the Pepe special here. But ultimately, I'm going with the dog shot on Damon Jackson. I don't think he gets the submission. I think Chepe's grappling is good enough to stifle those attempts. But I think we get at least 2 rounds to Damon. What do you got going here, Fenya?
Actually favoring Chepe here, but I feel like Jackson, especially with the price, is actually kind of attractive. Because Jackson has 2 things going for him that make him interesting here. The first one is that despite him being this kind of like very like grindy wrestler, having this grimy style, he actually starts very hot. He starts very sharp out of the gate. He goes aggressive. He goes for the takedowns very hard early. And Chepe is a bit of a slow starter himself, so that might be a bad combination, right? I feel if Damon Jackson is going to find some grappling success, he needs to establish that early. And with his style, that might be the option here. If it plays on the feet, I feel like Chepe has a big advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes me curious here is Damon Jackson will be able to push Chepe against the fence, because I feel like if he's going to grind takedown attempts, mat returns, that kind of stuff, he will need to do that against the fence. I feel like Chepe's too strong in the clinch and too good of a scrambler out in open space for Jackson to employ his game plan at open space. I feel like, in my opinion, this one, if you're feeling like hot on Jackson, I would say that's like the way to go, because I feel like I'm not feeling confident in either the over or the under here. And obviously Chepe at minus 218 is not great value. So I personally would stay away from this one. But if you see something in Jackson, that's a good play, I would say.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not going to break the bank doing it, but I think technically you're trying to find where there could be stylistic advantages and clear paths to victory. And if you have one of those at plus 200, you kind of have to hold your nose and do it. But there is a clear way to hedge out. I think taking Chepe on the knockout or like a round 2, round 3 type of vibe, because I could see Damon coming out early, having some success to start, and say he does slow down and say Chepe does get the fight from distance. I mean, he's clearly the better athlete with more power from distance and a way cleaner striking game. So I totally understand it. Almost was like considering the parlay route for the Chepe side, but I feel like the value play is the right thing to do here. Shout out to the chat. Jackson sub plus 600. It could be cute, you know, a little bit here or there, a little grandma's couch cushions. You know, you dig in there, find a little something to sprinkle on it. Yeah, what up, Solar? How you doing, brother? Great to see you. I'll throw it right back at you, brother. And then, yeah, what's going on? So I appreciate all you guys. I don't know. The Lee Army, we'll see. I don't like guys coming off of like herniation type of injuries, especially at the cervical level. Could affect a lot of things from a strength perspective, especially if it comes to grappling. So, all right, here we are. We got Danny left hand to God Barlow versus this guy, Nikolai Veretennikov. Sorry, I got so caught up in the nickname I created, but so yeah, this is what happens, Nikolai. You got to have your own nickname, or I'm going to do this to you. This guy's coming in on short notice. He's given up 5 inches of reach. He's going to be 5 years older. He's got 4 losses in MMA, but as he'll tell you in his media day, in kickboxing, combat sambo, you know, I take many losses. You know, it goes win, loss, less pressure that way, being undefeated, a lot of pressure. You know, kind of referring to like Danny Barlow maybe being under a lot of pressure. I mean, what I take away from that is like, this guy is really not afraid of taking a loss. And I think this is like his ticket to the UFC. He had a few consecutive finishes since losing to Michael Morales on Contender Series. I think the biggest difference is that Michael Morales is very raw on the feet and not really a finisher with his boxing game, whereas Barlow is like the complete opposite. He might be a little bit raw in the grappling game, but he does have like a high school wrestling background. So there is at least like something in his back pocket from like a reactive defensive, like shooting the hips back, going to stuff takedowns. But yeah, I mean, if it gets on the mat, I mean, there is like a potential edge for Nikolai. I just don't think he really does that. And trying to close that distance to do that type of game plan, like we see Josh Quinlan kind of surviving, because he's happy to just like bounce around the outside of the octagon for the first 2 rounds. The second it gets to round 3 and he's kind of cut up, kind of hurt, and he's like, shit, man, I really got to close the distance to like win this fight. That's when Barlow gets everything he needs. And this guy's just a technical counter striker off the back foot. And he can make it happen in a small octagon, big octagon. It doesn't matter. So I think Nikolai, he's shown that he's willing to kind of like mentally quit in a fight. And I think that, once you feel that left hand from God, man, it could be game over. So from a prop perspective, I'm like considering just like KO in general, because like trying to say round 1, round 2 versus round 2, round 3, I feel like we could be right on the precipice and it could be tough because, I mean, Veretennikov hasn't been finished since very early in his career. Like the first 3 or 4 fights of his career, he took 3 losses and 2 of them were by finish. And then all of his other losses in his career are by decision. So ultimately, Barlow probably by finish, but I'm going to be careful with what exactly I do here. Fenya, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I feel like the line is pretty fair here, especially considering that Verenikov, his last fight was against a Southpaw and a guy that wasn't very good. And there was some vulnerabilities there, especially because it was against a short guy. And he was getting to dictate the footwork in there. And here against Danny Barlow, that is longer, that is more athletic, has quicker feet, and has more setups to his left hand. So he looked kind of hittable. He had problems with the speed of Michael Morales, as you said, when he was like super raw on the feet. Obviously, Michael Morales is like a tremendous athlete and very intimidating, like persona inside the cage. But Danny Barlow is not that far from that, right? So, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to the knockout, I'm also not feeling like where it's coming, because like Danny Barlow it's fine at just like pot-shotting and controlling the pace with his long-range tools, finding the big shots. So it could happen like earlier on the 3rd round. I wouldn't be so sure either way. What are the odds for a straight-up knockout for Danny Barlow?
Let's see. I have winning methods from DraftKings. Not generally like the best prices, but it's the easiest layout to find them. So knockout itself is plus 110, whereas decisions plus 180. Like you're probably getting enough on the plus 110 to just like do it. It might not be the best price, but it's enough,
decent.
Right? Yeah,
that's pretty decent. Yeah.
50-50 shot, right? So you're getting the plus money. You might as well take it. I think there's at least a 50% chance he's winning this fight by knockout. And at minus 375 to cover your number, you better, right? So, yeah, I like that. Good call, Fenyo. Don't try to be too cute. Sometimes the number is just good enough. So, here we go. We got El Guapo. Talking about too cute, we got El Guapo, Chris Gutierrez versus, I mean, this guy, this is how you make a nickname here. I didn't even have to do it for him. We got Quang Bang Lee. I mean, that's just perfect, So, I really appreciate you making my job easy over here, because that's exactly what I would have done for you, Quang. But coming in here, I mean, we got an all-action fighter versus one of the most dangerous calf kickers you've ever seen. But that's about what he's got to offer offensively from like a danger perspective. Like I think Gutierrez is an okay enough boxer. He's got decent enough grappling to where he's probably not getting submitted by a lot of guys, but he's not really using it offensively enough to where it's really a threat or a part of his game plan. And he's happy to kind of use his space, fire some kicks, maybe throw a knee here and there. And like if he needs to, he'll use his hands. And the thing is, like Quang, he's going to force action in this fight. He's super heavy on the front foot. I'm just so sketched out at the fact that he's so heavy on the front foot and he's got absolutely zero defense. He's a very fun fighter. And yeah, he's 8-0. Oh my God, he's never been finished. He's never even lost. And then you look at his amateur record and he's got like 2-3 finished losses. And he goes into his pro career off of like a 2-fight losing streak with the last one by armbar finish. So, yeah, I mean, Gutierrez, he's probably earning his line here. It's just like with Quang, I mean, if there was a way for him to win this fight, it's by round one knockout. And at plus 400, you could probably get the round one knockout at something where you could lay like $2 to cover whatever you're going to do Chris Gutierrez in a parlay. Because, I mean, I don't know if Gutierrez is going to calf kick him to death, whether this guy is actually going to survive the distance. What if Gutierrez pulls a sub out of nowhere? I mean, I just feel very uncomfortable with the idea that Gutierrez very much plays with his food. And, I mean, you know, Quang's going to force a fight here. So, man, I have a disgusting parlay that I'll probably have Gutierrez in, but, like, I don't have to feel good about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, this one, I mean, and you can understand this is very short notice. The thing that you want to see for a guy to like surprise Gutierrez in a fight is like one is pressure and the other one is like kick defense. And like Quang Lee is aggressive, but he's not the kind of guy that will constantly push you against the fence. And even if he tries that, like Gutierrez is very good moving side to side. We've seen him against like aggressive opponents, like for example against Dana Batierre, who was pressuring very hard. Gutierrez is pretty good at using misdirections on the outside. He's kind of easy to push back, but once he has his back on the fence, he moves just fine over there. The thing with Quang Lee is that, yeah, he stands so heavy on that front foot that Gutierrez is probably going to have a field day landing leg kicks on him. Gutierrez, even if things go bad for him in the first round, the times that we've seen him hurt, for example, against Song Yadong, against Pedro Munoz, he has excellent recovery. He stays safe. He takes very good grappling decisions. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I understand that the plus 400 can look tempting, especially after a pretty bad performance that Gutierrez has against Song Yadong. But yeah, I mean, this one is like Gutierrez is going to win this one. It's a pretty bad matchup. It's short notice, and like Quang Lee is the one that will need to make adjustments, while Chris Gutierrez gets to play his usual game and just win. So
yes.
And when it comes to finish or no finish, when it comes to calf kicks, you never know because sometimes you fry the leg of your opponent with just like 2 or 3, and other times the guys just survive. So I would say if it's not inside like a parlay, stay away from this one, like from every angle. I would say
that's great analysis. This is why we have amazing guests like Fanyo come on the show. And look at this, Mark. I always see you commenting afterwards. So happy you were able to make it live, my dude. That's great. The Barlow last fight, double chance KO or decision. Pretty good idea. Yeah, I mean, this line might get even wider as we get these parlays getting close to it. Fight not to go the distance at plus 130. Glimbot, you could be onto something there because it covers all of Quang's win equity and it covers like the 50% chance that Gutierrez finds a finish himself. So at plus 130, we could be talking here. That's not too crazy.
There might be something there, yeah.
Yeah, there might be. You know, I'm not banging it home, but it could be a little something. It's going to be on the radar. Mushroom, what's going on? What's up? Yes, this is the real guru tonight. We got Fanyo out here. Mark, so the answer is Guru is actually dead to me for missing the show tonight. So we have the lovely and amazing Fanyo joining us. And you guys will just never see the Guru again. It's okay. No, just kidding. He'll be back. He should be back next time, but
the Guru went back to his home planet.
That's right. That's right. Him and the other Guru got in a fight, and we'll see what the results are next week. Stay tuned next week to find out. So it can't see is that Brandon Moreno talking. That's pretty funny. These are are you from Spain, Fanyo?
No, I'm from Chile.
Chile. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. And then, yeah, see, exactly. We got an even better guest than just having the Guru. We got you guys an actual UFC fighter to come on the show.
Yeah.
So, Chris by knockout or decision. Yeah, that's probably it. Watch, he's gonna get the sub to just ruin us all. All right, we've got Yana the Fox Santos versus Chelsea Cornhusker Chandler. Listen, I know she's not really from that area, but it fits the Triple C idea. And like, come on. Do you think like her family when she was growing up had like a quota of how much like corn and milk she had to consume on a daily basis? I mean, look at her. She's a hoss. Yeah, and I don't know how she's making 135. Like Yana, at least I have some faith in that regard. And I mean, looking on She says she's not breastfeeding anymore. I mean, is that code for something else that she is doing now? I'm just going to say, like, is that like, does that come one along with the other, Yana? Because I mean, looking in absolute prime shape. We're hoping that she's not actively 2 months pregnant going into this matchup like the Aldana fight. That would also be a good thing. So she looked in great shape. That's great. And yeah, the new Triple C, exactly. She's part of the family. Just saying. So yeah, and simple answer: Chelsea Chandler's not making 135, and if she does, she's going to kill herself to get there. Yana, I think what I do trust is that she's got a lot more experience against like a lot better fighters, and if it does come down to just like a clinchy game against the fence, and I think I trust her a little bit more there. And if the fight does hit the mat, I do think Chandler's like a solid grappler, but we've really only seen that proven like one against like just knowing how to defend an armbar against Julia Soliarenko, and then two like handling Josiane Nunes. But is that really impressive given everything we've seen about her regional tape? Is other fighters controlling her until they get knocked out? And Chandler, like, she's eaten a lot of strikes there against Nunes. Now, I don't think Yana is necessarily the best fighter out there, but she does have a positive overall distance striking differential. And I just think that the experience level and the type of fighters that she's fought, like, it makes sense she takes an L here and there. And like when you're coming off the pregnancy and you have to make that adjustment to like the new body type, those first couple of fights are really tough. And like I think that this is really the matchup of a lifetime for her in that regard, is that she gets a super inexperienced fighter that has a ton of physicality, but probably isn't used to someone that actually knows what to do technically in some of these clinch situations. Like, I don't think she's as good of a boxer as someone like Norma Dumont that's going to make her go running face first into the fence. But, at the same time, I do think Yana is going to be able to control a lot of the physicality in this matchup. Like, she's only giving up a couple inches height. She's not giving up any reach. This isn't like a Josiane Nunes situation where if the fight does hit the mat, it's just a complete wash. I mean, like Kaylin Vieira, a ton of control, near submissions. But I mean, think about what a high-level wrestler and grappler Vieira is and how huge she is. Like, I don't think Chandler checks off all those boxes and doesn't have the experience. So ultimately, going to take a small play here on Yana's money line. I feel like this could have been one of those spots where it could have been a wider line if the decision last time went against Chandler, which I think could have been arguable, Fenyo, what are you picking here?
Yeah, I feel like you make very good points about this one. Chandler, the main thing about Chandler is that she's huge, right? And she's very physical, but and she's kind of smart, but she doesn't have the skills to make the most out of those like good decisions. Like I thought that her decision making was pretty decent in her last fight against Josiane, but his striking was just so sloppy. You can tell that she can hit, so she can like maybe steal around here and there with some big moments, getting a big takedown or something. But as you said, like Jana is not small by any means. She's looking pretty post USADA, right? So and she has been there with good athletes in the past, even if it doesn't always go her way. So yeah, I mean, a straight play on Yana could be like pretty good. The over is pretty low for obvious reasons. This is very likely to go the distance. Maybe if you have like value, if you find value in the split decision, because Yana has that like sketchy style that sometimes in fight that she doesn't even deserve, right? I think she went to a split with Norma, and she was like super losing that fight. So, against Carol Hosa. He went to a split against Carol Hosa, and to be honest, I didn't give her a round, but she still got the split decision. So maybe there's something there.
Yeah, it definitely could be something cute. Like we say, little grandma's couch cushions. You're not betting your whole life on it, but hey, there could be a little angle there, and it's definitely happened before. So, and Glimbot out here, I mean, talking about grandma's couch, I mean, round 2, 20-1, round 3, 30-1. Whew, a little nickel could go a long way, so make sure you're having fun with those. But yeah, I mean, be careful what you're really throwing out there on some crazy props this card. So listen, I see all the activity in the chat. You guys are awesome. Please, if you haven't done so already, it's kind of messed up if you haven't thrown a like on the video thus far, but you can fix that with just one click, and it doesn't cost you a thing. So do the right thing. Please subscribe. Please like the video, and we're moving on. We've got Toshiomi, the Tornado Kazama versus Ferocious Charalampos Gregoriou. My word. I mean, turning on the tape for Toshiomi Kazama, I was like, all right, let's see, like, is he going to wrestle? Can we get like something here that, like defending anything, doing well? But I mean, God, I mean, there's zero head movement. He throws blind kicks. He like reacts horribly to feints. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm just thinking out here, I'm like, damn, yeah, I mean, there's nothing that tells me that Grigoriou probably isn't getting a finish between round 1 and round 2. He's seemingly the better athlete, more explosive type of striker, whereas Kazama's got a ton of like nervous energy, throws a bunch of like empty kicks. But yeah, oh my goodness, look at this, Mr. John Newquist gifting out a Chronic Combat membership, and Glimbot taking advantage of the opportunity. You guys are amazing. Absolutely incredible. Do the right thing. Appreciate all you guys so much. That's so awesome that you guys support the show like that. Really appreciate it. I think it's because of our awesome co-host Fenya today. So we'll just tell the guru we don't need him anymore. But ultimately here, I mean, Grigoriou, the type of things that he's throwing at Angeliger, and like, I got to give Chad a little bit of credit there. Like he actually is a very like savvy striker and wrestler and grappler, to where he's able to survive all the danger and start mounting his offense when Grigoriou has that kind of like that letdown in his debut. So I feel good about Grigoriou getting a setup spot here. I mean, he had Frivola, Sterling, Ray Longo in his corner last time. Like, there's no way they're bringing in Kazama for him to lose to him here. So it's for me, it's a finish. He's part of the sketchiest parlay you could ever want for this card. I feel like it's worth it every card to have one unit out there for the parlays where it's like, oh, the price is terrible. But damn it, like if I go like 10 out of 12 on my picks and I don't end up winning money because I didn't just throw some of these guys together in a parlay, it also makes me feel stupid. So anytime, like last week, I had a 20 to win like 120. And sometimes it hits. And if it doesn't, it's like, all right, like, that's really only a portion of my betting scale for the card. So listen, maybe the guru infected me. I'm getting some terrible ideas. But oh my goodness, we got Dan Tom in the house. Yes, sir. We got Fenyu in the building. We had to have the best possible guest. So appreciate you. And if you guys aren't following the Protect Your Neck and following these guys all over at their amazing Substack and YouTube membership channel there, I mean, my God, you guys are doing a terrible thing. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show, but like Dan Tom, one of like the biggest inspirations for getting into this type of like analysis and content. And the fact that he would team up with someone as amazing as Fenyo is just like the biggest endorsement I could ever have for having a guest on the show. So truly, absolutely awesome. And I appreciate all you guys do. So anyways, Fenyo, I know I set you up for a lot of pressure here, but what do you got in this fight?
Yeah, it feels like the UFC is doing Grigoriou a solid one here, right? I mean, Kazama he put some fun fights. There's a few fights that he could win in 135, but putting him against like this uber prospect wrestler, it's not the right move for him. Angeliger is kind of small. He's maybe not as good as an athlete as Kazama, but he's like very crafty in every area of MMA. So he's the kind of guy that gives you that prospect loss, right? While Kazama is like just like a prospect, just like Grigoriou. So he makes the same kind of mistakes, but Grigoriou has the advantage of having that like safety net of his wrestling, his grappling, and yeah, Grigoriou like probably the bigger guy inside there, the most physical dude. And he goes hard at it. That's why he got tired against Angeliger as well, right? So and Kazama is like a die by the sword kind of guy. So yeah, I think you're right. Finish here is what I would expect from Grigoriou's part.
Yeah, I feel like if he had won his last matchup, we'd be getting like a minus 500 in this spot. And that compared to a couple other favorites on the card, I think he's got actually a way higher finishing potential. And like defensively, he does have instincts. He has reactions, whereas like Kazama just doesn't show that to me.
And if you want to throw Grigoriou like on a parlay, just straight up winning, that's pretty good. Just like free value there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, like you gotta. It's like I have him, I have Gutierrez, I mean, there's probably a couple unmentionables, like some tough ones. But oh my goodness, we found one right here. It's Carol Hosa. Every Hosa has its thorn. versus Penny Bonsai Kianzad. I mean, Carol Hosa here, like she should have the biggest advantage in the matchup of the wrestling, but it's like I'm just not holding like the UFC 5 PlayStation controller and like telling Carol Hosa like to do what I want her to do while she's fighting. So it's like, well, it's very difficult to like really trust her with any like substantial financial investment. I do think that she should win this fight like 9 out of 10 times. It's just, yeah, she's got more volume. I think she's a better kickboxer, whereas Kianzad is very limited to just being a boxer and like having extremely limited success in the clinch against smaller, worse fighters. So Kianzad here, it's like, well, you can take her down, you can wrestle her and just kind of sit on top. And we've seen Hosa do that against a couple opponents. So I feel like, man, it's just worth it because in hindsight, she could look like a much bigger favorite. But there is also the universe, like, or maybe shall we say the Katona-verse that we live in here, that like Carol Hosa could really just like end up in a striking battle, 15 minutes at distance, and she's landing like 1.2 strikes for every one that Kianzad lands, and the judges end up going to a split, and you're sweating it way more than you ever should. But ultimately, I think Hosa should win this fight. So, yeah, Dan, hell yeah. Keep on supporting us. Keep on supporting Mr. Protect Your Neck over there. And thank you, Glembot. I appreciate it. Yeah, so Fenyo, what do you got here? Are you taking a dabble or how's it feeling?
Yeah, I feel like Hosa is pretty safe here, but as you said, like the big danger here is that they have like a low pace kickboxing fight, and the judges don't like the leg kicking of Hosa, because she's probably going to take over with that in this fight. What makes me feel a bit more comfortable is that Kianzad, when she gets aggressive, ends up in the clinch a lot, and I feel like Hosa is superior in the clinch. She's probably, if Hosa is getting takedowns, it's because Kianzad is initiating the clinch, I feel. And Hosa also has been getting more aggressive in the later in fights. So yeah, I mean, obviously, like the values here are like what you would expect, but as you said, it's another one of those, like, if you want to add to a parlay, Hosa is like not good value, but it adds, right?
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, if you have a 5-6 leg parlay and you're getting at least some money, and it's not just like plus 100 at the end of the day, then you know it's gross. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do in these streets. You know, it's tough out here. So we've got Janata Denise Nuts versus Jimmy Neutron's best friend Carl Weezer Williams. This is what happens, guys, when you don't have your own nicknames. You're going to get terrible TB ones. So go back to the drawing board, do some good work. Actually, I feel like Carl Weezer, like that could be a good one. He's got his hands on his knees sometimes. Looks like he could use an inhaler, you know. But does he like llamas? That's the real question. So Jonata Denise, I mean, I feel like the UFC kind of burned the tape from that event so that we didn't have to watch Austin Lane sitting on top of him for 4.5 minutes again. Because, I mean, that was gross. But at the same time, it's like, well, what could he have done to fix that in the last couple months here since that fight? And the answer is nothing, really. I mean, Carl Williams, as like gross as it is that he couldn't find a finish in any of these last matchups, I mean, he does the job. You know, it's disgusting and it's going the distance. Carl Williams by decision is plus 150 on DraftKings, which means FanDuel, you're probably getting plus 180 or better. And I feel like ultimately, like, yeah, Carl Williams, there's going to be a time and place to fade him. And it's just not now. Like Denise, like there's a reason why he's not a kickboxer anymore. And it's not for the Alex Pereira reasons. Like, I mean, look at the guy. Come on. He's not, it looks like if you had gotten me out there to fight at the heavyweight division, like it's not anything impressive from like an athletics standpoint. It's just, yeah, I mean, he's a big guy. He swings heavy. He has decent technique from being a kickboxer. But ultimately, I'm going with Carl. He's a piece of the discussing parlay, I believe. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
liking
mean,
that
I agree, man. And but Carl Williams, if you said his plus on decision, like that's pretty good actually. But you never know, because sometimes these guys like just find that weird finish when they are never finishing fights. Like it happened with Waldo Cortez Acosta, right? He was on like a 4 decision streak, and then he got the first round KO. The big thing here is that Denise, to win his last fight, he needed um What was his name? The NFL guy.
Oh,
Uh,
Austin Lane.
Austin
Austin,
Lane. Yeah.
stay in your lane.
Austin Lane. The thing that lost him the fight is that he got tired, and the thing about Carl Williams is that he doesn't get tired, so
Yeah.
he's not going to get and way better wrestler too. Way better wrestler. Like Austin Lane was cosplaying as a wrestler. Carl Williams isn't like an actual wrestler. So yeah, I mean, Denise obviously can catch him during an entry or something, but I would not count on that. Carl Williams by decision is like safe bet here.
Yes, I love it. It feels magical. And we'll have the parlay too, just in case he wins by some disgusting finish. What's with this homie taking me down? Why does he wheeze so hard? I got you, baby. I got you. It's the Weezer. And where's Guru? He's out causing salacious things in the streets. You could probably find him on your local corner. You just have to bring a few dollars to get what you're looking for. That horror abandoned us tonight, but we have the amazing Fenyo filling in. So we're moving on. We've got the Moroccan Devil, his nickname, not mine, Yusuf Zalal, versus Yarno, a motocross errands, my nickname. He used to be a motocross rider before he got into UFC, or I should say MMA. Yeah, I got you, Dan. I got you. I know what you're looking for out here. And does he take change? That's actually, his price is so low, you're going to need change and coins to pay for the Guru. Exactly. So plus 350 on the Aaron side, minus 455 on the Yusuf Salah side. Well, if we were in a kickboxing match, this would be an absolutely disgusting pricing. The fact of the matter is, if I've seen you get wrestled and controlled by Sang-Woo Choi, even when you had him on death's doorstep, if I've seen you get wrestled by Stephen Nguyen in a man versus boy fight, and if I've seen you get absolutely wrestled at every point across your career, Yarno Aarons, as happy as I was to cash a plus money ticket against Stephen Nguyen with you, this is where I'm going to have to add Yusuf Salal to my disgusting and gross parlay at minus 455. And the better part is I can get submission at plus 300, because that's the only way that Yusuf Salal looks anywhere near minus 455. Nah, I don't think so, John. I mean, like, listen, if this fight plays from distance for 15 minutes and Yusuf Salal is not going for takedowns or back takes, I would be extremely sketched out. Could see a big hedge here. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if Aarons is winning, it's by decision. Nobody's finishing Zalal. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to just play the over instead of playing Zalal, I wouldn't hate you, but I think you would need to do a little hedge with Zalal by submission. I don't think he's finishing anybody by knockout in this fight. Aarons is very tough. He loves to get into wars. He can eat a bunch of damage. He might get hurt, but I mean, he's never really in danger of fully getting out of there. Whereas if you can start grappling him, man, like that's really where it can get to. So ultimately, I got Zalal in a parlay. He's the pick. And by submission is the cute little prop you can add on to it. Fenyo, what do you got here?
Yeah, the thing is that Salah is not that great of a wrestler, so this might play out on the feed. But the thing that he will have that in his back pocket, it makes the line make sense, right? And also the thing that Aaron's not great at dealing with jabs, and Yusuf Salah, pretty active jabber, moves well on the outside, and using those long range tools. So this is like very competitive kickboxing match if it stays on the feet, and then you add the Salah takedowns on top, and it's like very hard to see Salah losing this one. The line's kind of crazy, but it's probably inflated a little bit because of that win against Billy Q that was very, very impressive. Even though I think like Quarantillo did not look like himself in that fight, not to take away from Salah, but an Aaron's comes with the momentum, right? So this might be closer than people think, but I still think you gotta go with Salah, man.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. It could be sketchy getting into these prop ideas. It could be that Aarons is like the value guy that ends up losing a close decision. But,
Yeah.
it's like, I think hindsight's going to be 2020 here. But minus 455, it can't be grosser than what Guru's doing out there on the streets right now. So Aussie, what up? What is going on? Aussie. Loving it. We got the whole gang in the chat here tonight. You guys are killing it. I'm telling Guru we don't need him back. All right, we made it. This is another. So they have the main event and like the fight opener of the whole card are the matchups that everybody just couldn't stop asking for to be a rematch. We got Rondinha, Stephanie Luciano against the problem child, Talita Alencar. Did she come up with that nickname because she started an OnlyFans, or was this just kind of like what was meant to happen given her nickname? But ultimately here, Rondinha, I mean, I thought she did an okay job of not just like accepting guard and trying to use butterflies, kick out, avoid. But then it's like, well, the second we get 2 minutes, 3 minutes into the first round, we see Alan Carr settle in. But then I think that there was like a huge mismanagement of energy in multiple places in the fight. And she also admitted to having like a little bit of like an anxiety type of deal where she couldn't like find her breath again in the fight. And a lot of that happens when you make your like debut or contender series fight under the bright lights on TV for the first time, and like fighting for the contract. So I don't think we saw any of those like severe cardio issues in her debut against against Hayani Amanda, but against Luciano, where at the end of round one with like 10 seconds left, where she already has the round in a bag, she goes for this crazy explosive double leg. And it's like, for what? Then at the end of round two, she has ridiculous amount of control, goes to this mounted position without having any other limb or anything tied up. And it's like, yeah, typically, like, I mean, she was gassed out going into round two, but she still lands 4 minutes of control before aggressively mounting and getting bucked off and reversed into a bottom control. And even from there, the funniest part is like, as she's nearly dying at the end of round two, another horrible decision in mismanagement of cardio is she shoots for this crazy aggressive takedown with, again, like 5 seconds left in the round. And it doesn't give her time to like breathe and relax going on into the stool. So it's like, I think from that perspective, she's fixed a couple of those things. She was a big favorite in the first fight. And I see nothing from Luciano except for the fact that Alan Carr completely gassed out in the first matchup. That makes me feel good if Alan Carr is trying to aggressively go for takedowns. So ultimately here, getting the plus money side on Alan Carr, and that's not even factoring in that Luciano had to pull out of a fight recently for dengue fever. That's a
Oh wow,
serious
didn't
deal.
know
Yeah.
that, man.
Back in March, she contracted dengue fever and had to pull out. It's been 5 months, but I mean, there are long-lasting effects from that. You might not feel yourself for a long time. And I don't think there's going to be a cardio advantage in this matchup like we saw play out. Like Alan Carr, also something else we didn't talk about. She took that Dana White's Contender Series matchup on short notice. So give me Alan Carr as who should be the rightful favorite. Took her at plus 140, bet 365. Hopefully it's still there for you now, but I think that there is a lot to be had for the way better grappler in the smaller octagon who's coming here to right her wrongs. Fenyo, take us away.
Yeah, I was given the extra context that you have given me just now, like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I was feeling Luciano in this rematch just because she's so fucking big, right? She's like Chelsea Chandler for 115,
Yes.
man. She's so fucking big. But and the other thing is that both girls are like equally inexperienced, but I expect the younger fighters like Luciano to improve more between fights. But now that you tell me that that was like very short notice for Alencar, that kind of makes sense that she got tired, especially grappling against someone that big. You would expect her to come into this fight with more efficient takedowns, especially the single leg and the high crotch that were like very efficient on the first fight. And then she was going for the big mat returns, the double legs against the fence that were not playing into her favor just because of the size difference, right? And then, yeah, if Luciano was like very sick, how much has she been improving since that fight, right? I don't, obviously no one wanted this rematch,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, uh not a lot has changed since that first fight. If anything, you would expect actually to Talita to look better, despite being the smaller, older fighter, which are not like good signs moving into a rematch, right? But actually you made some compelling points. I feel like I feel like there's something in Alencar being the underdog here.
Yeah, I listen. I think it's at least worth the shot on a card where what could possibly go wrong. I think that there's a few factors, and you talk about the size. Like, how easy is the weight cut going to be for Luciano? Do we even see her make weight and make it to this matchup, given the health things that she's had going on and her size? Like, has she been able to keep her weight low going into it? So I'll be very interested tomorrow, looking at the weigh-in, seeing what's going on. We made it,
Yeah,
guys.
how she looks on the scale too. Like, watch
Yeah.
out for that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, absolutely awesome show. Feel like we did a super efficient job giving you guys great analysis. 10 fights, so that helps too from a timing perspective. But I mean, I'm loving this Thursday, 8 o'clock time slot. Feel like you guys are appreciating it too. Really appreciate all you guys in the chat for joining us here live on YouTube. Oh my goodness, Mushroom, you're right. How could I not have actually given you guys what the parlay was? So here we go. If you hop over to Bet365, they also give you like a nice little like parlay booster. So I think I got like an extra 15 or 12.5% on the line here. So it's like for some of these disgusting gross lines, you at least get a little something for it. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Let's get it. Just want to get you guys the best possible lines here because I know I placed the bets and want to make sure we got the appropriate thing. So we have Yusuf Salah minus 450, Carl Williams at minus 200, Charalampos Grigoriou minus 250, Chris Gutierrez minus 550, Danny Barlow minus 400, Carol Hosa minus 200 for an absolutely disgusting $20. With the boost included, you can get back $125.46. I think we got a good enough shot. You know, I think it could be worse. Zalal, Williams, Grigoriou, Gutierrez, Barlow, and Hosa. So that's the parlay. I got some Santos money line, Alan Carr, Damon Jackson. We'll find some props. Make sure you guys are following us. Fenyo, before I do the closing here, what do you got to say to the people? Anything you want to plug and promote?
I mean, yeah. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully, we can do this again. Make sure to follow my buddy Dan Tom because we're doing a recap after the fights on Saturday. Check that out on the Dan Tom Substack, and make sure to follow the fight site. We have a lot of cool articles. We have YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff. Follow me at Twitter at FenoXSky. And yeah, that's it. This was fun. Was great being here.
Awesome. Appreciate you so much. Really means a lot. You joining the show. Yep, I got that beautiful New Jersey accent. Fenyo, he's representing all of our friends out there in South America. So appreciate you. Absolutely wonderful time. Make sure, like he said, you guys are following all the wonderful content from Dan Tom and Fenyo at Protect Your Neck, and also at the fight site to help support the really great analysts in this game that bring you like really like pure content. I feel like there's a lot of people out here that, you know, promote and sell picks where it's not necessarily the most like, you know, deep from their heart reasons that they're doing it. So if you guys want to hear more, go check out like Lou Beccia and Monk tonight. I'm sure you'll see a lot more. But just to remind you guys why we do this, it's for the love of the game. Seriously, always free content on this end of things. And like, if you guys want to be awesome and like be members of the channel, support us, like literally you get nothing out of it besides being really chill and like helping us out from that perspective. But it's really your choice. So we're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. The best bets, the best guests, always free picks. You can find me and the Guru on Twitter, the artist formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, Instagram, Picket, Verdict, Tapology, Bet MMA. You can get all of our content weekly. We will be looking to do some Dana White's Contender Series content, so make sure you guys check it out when it breaks down. And without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this absolutely amazing fight card. See ya.